We are live.
Hello, we are live. Fabulous.
Happy Friday, go Raptors.
Yes, I was going to say, we got to put a
You
cheer
gotta
out.
mention
Go
that.
Raptors. Nobody slept last night.
No,
right?
for sure. So I'm really excited to be here on Inspiration Fridays with Donna Jacobs. Donna has been a psychologist in the city of Toronto for over 40 years, which is longer than I've been alive. So it's really quite remarkable. And I'm really excited to have her on today to talk about some really important concepts. The main one being why it's so important to understand our own internal world or our own inner child, which we are going to explain what that is, and how that really is key to behavior change within ourselves, but also as we parent, in our marriages, really with everything, right? Okay. So Donna, also on top of being a psychologist, Donna runs workshops on her self-integration model, and she just has finished her first book called Becoming Your Best Self, which you can find available on Amazon soon or on her website, www.donnajacobs.ca. Okay. So the first question I have for Donna is, Donna, how did you start your own healing journey? And when did you start that?
Early and late.
Okay.
So I didn't understand. I actually probably developed a little later than a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was primarily through my clients who are my biggest teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They came to me and I started to collect what I thought were the finite parts of self.
Okay.
And I started to put them into a model. And when I started to do this, I started to look at my own self and look at my own work and realizing that one of the parent states, which is up there on the unhealthy side of the model, is the catastrophizing parent. The catastrophizing parent I coined by the what ifs, the uh-ohs, and the oh my gods. So anything that starts with what if, what if they don't call, and what if they do call, and what am I going to do, and uh-oh, and all that's the catastrophizing parent. And what I realized was through my life that the catastrophizing parent actually had me by the throat. Okay. And the catastrophizing parent, each of the parent states, as you'll sort of see in this banner behind you, leads to a cluster state of feelings. Okay. So as an example, if you talk about the critical parent, we all have a parent state in us.
A lot of people can relate to that.
Okay, yes.
I just to explain, when you're saying parent, why would you not just say like the critical voices in your head?
Good
why
question.
Are you calling it a catastrophizing parent or
Good.
A critical parent?
Good. Because the parent, there's three parts that we're made up of: the parent state,
Mm-hmm.
the adult state, and the child state, as you can see on the banner. And
So you're saying even us as adults,
oh yes,
we have a parent state, an adult state, and a child state.
And we have a parent state even if we don't parent actual children.
Okay.
And there are 7-year-olds who have a parent state.
Interesting.
So think of the parent state as the filter.
Okay.
So things happen around us, and the parent state is what filters it. So I can take one situation and filter it through the 6 parent states. So one will be a critical version, one will be an indulgent version, one will be a catastrophizing version on the unhealthy side.
Okay.
Okay. So
anytime we're being critical to ourselves, we're in a parent state of criticism.
Yes.
Okay.
And as a result, because what I call the handshake, each parent state is intimately linked to our inner child, which is, think of the inner child as the place where we feel. So
is that the simplest way to describe it?
That's the simplest way.
Could you say any more on the inner child?
Yes, the
okay,
inner child.
There's some people who have no idea.
Absolutely. So the inner child is that part of us that it's our gut reaction, our feelings. I do this because mine resides here.
Yeah.
It also is the warehouse of our needs and wants. So anytime you're...
Let's just stop for a second. Our gut reactions.
Yes.
Is the inner child anytime we're emotional?
Yes.
Or just the gut instinct?
Anytime we feel emotion.
So anytime we feel emotion, we're in what's coined the child state. So it could be positive emotion.
Oh, totally.
Too? Okay.
Because if you look at the banner, half the side of it is healthy, half is the unhealthy. We want to get everybody to the healthy side.
Right.
As I say, nobody comes to therapy. Okay. I've never in my 40, almost 1 years, had anybody come to therapy saying, Donna, I'm so happy. I'm so fulfilled. I'm so confident. I'm so able. Could you help me?
Right.
I've never, ever heard that.
Yeah.
What I've heard is, Donna, I'm addicted. Donna, I'm depressed. Donna, I'm feeling insecure. Donna, I have no friends. Donna, I can't keep a job. Donna, I'm anxious all the time. That's what I hear.
Right.
Okay. And what I'm saying is that's intimately linked to our parent or filter state.
Filter state.
So that's what I want you to understand, because
Yes.
you're asking the good questions, right? The
What does that
parent
mean?
state is the filter through which we take in things. So let me give you an example.
Yes, please. So the child state, just to reiterate, the child state or
is
the inner
the
child
warehouse.
is where we feel
Yes.
any emotion.
Yes.
And the parent state is how we filter
Yes.
information
Yes. Any situation.
and then respond to the child.
Then the child has an automatic response. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You get a phone call from your doctor.
Mhm.
Okay. Catastrophizing. Oh my God, I see the doctor come. What if it's bad results? That immediately makes our child state feel panicked, anxious, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What the hell's the doctor calling for? You know, I told them to call me yesterday and they're a day late. Critical parent, making us feel angry, upset, right? So each of our filters, you
How
can
we take in information from the external world will lead to a reaction,
yes.
which is the parent.
Well, the parent is the filter,
Yeah.
how they choose to filter it, and it ensues to a handshake to the child state where
Where the
feel.
emotions, okay.
All
with
of
you.
them, all 6 of them. Protective parent makes us feel safe and secure. Right? If
So
somebody's
there's
coming
good
at
parent
me,
states too.
there's 3 good parent states. That's
Okay.
where we want to get people to.
Okay.
So we want people to filter it through the good side. So
Tell
if
us again the 3 negative parent states.
So on the banner behind you, so the 3 unhealthy are the critical parent.
Yeah.
The indulgent, neglectful.
Yeah.
That I need to explain a bit because that's not the clear one.
Okay.
And the catastrophizing.
Okay.
Those are the 3 unhealthy that we want people to stop filtering events through that.
Right.
The 3 healthy ones are the protective parent, the nurturing parent, and the guide.
Okay.
Okay, and each one
Protective, nurturing, and guide. And so critical, I think everyone can understand, right? When
Yes,
we're hard on
easy.
ourselves, when we're mean to ourselves, when we're criticizing how we look at how we are, perfectionism, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Catastrophizing, you explained quite beautifully,
right.
right? It's taking ourselves to the casket when we've just been told, you know,
It's
something.
the what ifs, uh-ohs, and oh
Yeah,
my
and
God, it's
already
the
we're-
easiest way. Yes.
whatever. And
Indulgent,
indulgent, neglectful. Could you explain that?
It's a trickier one.
Because I think that one also relates a lot to how we are as real parents sometimes, and we think
Yes.
we're doing the right thing when really
Yes.
we're actually neglecting our children
Thank
by giving in.
Oh, okay. So
So-
you got that naturally.
Yeah, so I want you to
You got
explain
that naturally.
Yes.
Thank you. Because a lot of people do think that the indulgent parent is actually the nurturing parent. It's not.
Okay, give us an
So
example.
the indulgent, here's how I coin the difference between the indulgent, neglectful, and the catastrophizing. The indulgent, neglectful gives into behaviors,
Mhm.
beliefs, or stances. So I'll give you an example. Any addiction falls within indulgent. Okay, any having affairs, any drug, alcohol addictions, gambling, any of the addictions. A belief would be, you know, only bad things happen to me. Of course, this isn't going to work out. That's indulgence, because people, if they come from that becomes an indulging belief.
It's like a victim.
Victimization is one of the
Indulgent.
stances. Exactly.
Okay.
Why I call it, because you said that, Jodi, so good, right? That I say indulgent / neglectful, because as an actual parent of children, not of yourself yet, as an indulgent parent of actual children, right? If you are giving in all the time and setting no rules, boundaries, and limitations, it's actually a neglectful parenting.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing I want to say is we are much better at parenting our children than we are about ourselves. Becoming your best self is all about reparenting us first.
And so tell us why you believe that is key. Okay, why you believe it is key to know how to parent internally, but also just to understand our internal world and what's going on there and what we're feeling on a daily basis, why that actually affects our health,
Yes,
and our relationship.
absolutely. So can I take us back to the
Please.
multi-generational for a moment?
Yeah.
What I believe is that every person has a P, A, and C.
Okay.
Our parents, some people were parented by one person, some people were parented by 5. There's blended families, there's, you know, egg donors, sperm donors become part of the family. So whoever was your significant person in your life who raised you, they all have PACs. Okay. what happens to a lot of people is because it's mommy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, or daddy and daddy, they elevate oh, but it's my mommy and my daddy. Sorry, they're just actually people with PACs who happen to have children.
Right.
Okay. So if you were parented, think about this, if you were parented by the unhealthy side of the model, let's say a critical parent.
You're talking real parenting.
Real parenting.
So
I'm
if
talking
your
about this
parents lived from their
Yes.
own catastrophizing, critical and or indulgent.
Yes. So let's say a parent was saying, Jodi, what's the matter with you? You don't get it right. I explained it to you yesterday. What the hell's the matter with you?
Mhm.
How's that going to make you feel?
Like shit.
Like shit. Okay. Bad, inadequate,
Shame,
guilt, all of that. Okay. So I need people to start thinking, how was I parented? Which of the 6 filters did my parents use to cause me something? And the important thing also to know is that we either borrow a parent's parenting style or we react against it. Can I give you an example on that?
Please.
You have a raging father and you watch your father rage at everybody in the family, your mother or your whoever, if it's a same-sex couple, raging at their partner. Okay. And you look and you say, that sort of gets the job done, right? Mom or dad, whoever it is, capitulates and caves and he gets his way. This is a great technique. I think I'm going to borrow that.
Right.
And I internalize the critical parent into me, whether I'm critical to myself, and then if I have children, whether I'm critical to my children. Okay. Or you can look at that and know what it's like to be raged at and say, no way am I ever going to be like that. It's been too painful for me. I watched the damage that's ensued. I am not doing that. Okay.
People can actually come out of behaviors.
Yes. Okay. Or they watch their other parent keeping their mouth shut and going silent. They may say, that was a great idea because if she had opened her mouth, she may have gotten right. So that's part of what we look at with who raised us. What is the filter state? Because it's
And
going
is
to
that
have
an
an
important? So that is an important part of the process. One of the first steps.
Absolutely.
Is know where you come from.
Yes.
Know your parents' parenting style.
Yes.
Know not necessarily what was going on within them, but how they reacted to you.
Yes. I mean,
Even better if you can know what was going on.
Absolutely. Yes,
them.
I like that. In my workshops, that's like part of the first workshop. I teach the model and then I ask people to go back and actually look at the circles of their parents. What's the dominant style? What was their dominant parenting style? Because all of that impacted us, right? And we live in these families and we develop adaptations. And in my book, I talk about my adaptation.
And there's not always one, because I know I'm just even
Right.
thinking about my own mom. My mom was definitely catastrophic for sure to this day still. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. And also I am now realizing more and more indulgent, neglectful. And I think a lot of people in my generation don't even realize that they're parenting in an indulgent, neglectful way. It's like the kid's crying for a lollipop, they say no. The kid keeps crying, they say no. The kid keeps crying. It's like, here's your lollipop. I can't deal with your screaming anymore.
Absolutely.
And what we don't realize that what we're doing every time we give the lollipop is that we're actually neglecting the fact that they need us probably for something, right?
Yes,
and by
yes.
giving them the lollipop, we're just telling them to shut up.
Right.
And B, we're also not teaching them boundaries.
Absolutely.
Which is harmful.
Exactly. So this is where you create entitled, spoiled, self-absorbed actual children. And it's the same if you do it to yourself.
Yeah.
If you give in to every whim that your child state wants, remember, child state is your inner child feels, and it's where you house your needs and wants. If you give in to yourself every time, you're creating an entitled individual.
Right.
The rules.
So like every time I want a donut, or every time,
Right.
even though I know it's bad for me or whatever it is.
Here's the donut. So, gee, I just do that and I get what I want. I don't think that's good teaching.
Right.
Setting rules, boundaries, limitations comes from the guiding parent, the G up there. Okay. And that's the one that sets rules, boundaries, and limitations and says, hey, sweetheart, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, but I want it. No, sweetheart, right? We're not doing that. As Irma Bombeck said, I loved you enough to, I don't know if you've ever read that.
No.
Or you should all read it. Irma Bombeck, I loved you enough to not have you go out that night with those people. I loved you enough to withhold your allowance, right?
Oh, right.
So I loved you enough to do this because
yeah.
I needed to set some rules, boundaries, limitations.
Amazing. Okay. So we talked about the parent states and then how they connect to the child state.
Yes.
What about this A?
Okay,
We
good.
haven't discussed
So
that.
can I just make one more
Yes, of
link
course.
too? We know that the CP, the critical
Critical parent.
parent, the critical parent leads to feeling bad, angry, shame, guilt, inadequate.
Mhm.
We know that the IN, indulgent, neglectful, leads to entitled, spoiled,
Addiction.
self-absorbed, addictions, possibly narcissistic, victimized, grandiose. It all lives in that.
Okay.
Catastrophizing leads to all of the anxiety and the helplessness and, immobilized, paralyzed. It can even border on paranoid.
Mm.
Like, what if this and what if that? And what if they look at me that way? And does that mean like,
So would you say though then that people with generalized anxiety disorder obviously have a high amount of a catastrophizing
totally,
parent,
totally?
and
that's
you
what
can
they live in.
heal
Absolutely.
that by connecting the dots?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to get to the A in a second.
Yeah.
On the positive side, your protective parent. If somebody was coming at Jodi now and right, I might have to step in and say, hey, right? Leave her alone. That's a protective parent. Like, just think of that psychologically.
Mhm.
If you were protected, how you protect yourself, and then how you protect your kids. Okay. Then that leads to the child feeling safe and protected and secure.
Mhm.
The nurturing parent is that parent who holds you close and says, I've got you, sweetheart. No, I've got you. It's actually, the nurturing parent is quite simple, but people never think it's enough.
Mhm.
But people who understand what it's like to be validated and reassured and comforted and soothed know how powerful it is. It's a strong pair of arms saying, I understand, that was terrible, that was really scary, but I got you, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
I'd say never
That's
false
hard.
in what way?
You know what? Our culture is so one of you're okay. Like I
Mm.
really find I notice it with myself. Even my 2.5-year-old will fall, and right away it's like you're okay, right? Like
I'm not
it's
allowing them to feel
right.
that I hurt
It's like
myself.
it's like this knee-jerk
Right.
reaction. You're okay. It's all good. Versus saying, are you okay? Or, are you in pain? Or what do you need?
What
We're
can I
so
do for you?
quick to want to put a Band-Aid on it,
Right.
right? Why is that, do you think?
I think that people, don't want, I think they think that's indulgent, right? And a lot of people are afraid of just the feelings.
Yes.
Right? That's why the inner child work is so important, because we don't want to give into our child state at all times, but we want to heal our inner child. That's what reparenting is, and do the same for our children.
Let them feel.
Absolutely.
Let them
Hold
be in
close.
pain.
Yes. Yes. And
Right.
that's
Which
okay.
is so key,
hard
guys,
for parents.
and
right?
so key. I really, I can't say it enough, and I want you to illuminate it even more, how we really, in order to allow our children to grow, our own children, we need to learn how to be with them in their pain and help them feel pain and things like disappointment, right? And sadness and
Absolutely.
anger and all these sort of harder emotions. And so many of us are so afraid of them within ourselves. We definitely can't, deal with them within our children.
Yes.
But that leads to what?
That leads
When you see a child who's been parented their whole life protected
yes.
from pain and challenge, what do you see in your office?
Well, it leads
when they're adults?
because they're codependent. That's what, to me, what codependency is. There's an anonymous client who wrote this day forth, I shall live my life and my life alone, allowing each soul that I meet the same privilege, even if that soul is your child. But I this morning I was at the office today before coming here,
Yeah.
and I had probably 2 or 3 clients who said, but my kid was unhappy and she was really frightened, and I say, well, that's her privilege. If you sweep in and do it and protect, it's not protection, it's indulgence. Okay,
Guys.
you're giving into a behavior.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that we step back, we allow them to feel, we ask open-ended questions. What can I do for you? What was it like? What have you thought of about this? Is there anything that you feel you can do? So we give it back to them. Okay, so that nurturing parent, it's really this, right? The parent who strokes your head. And if you didn't have one of those, you have it internally, model it after somebody, something, because I bet you as a parent, it comes naturally to you, to your children. But it doesn't come that naturally. Most of my clients say, I always forget that step, right? And then the guide is I call the guide the therapist. It's the wisdom. It's perspective. It's putting the pieces together, understanding that, gee, that probably stemmed from my adaptation when I was a child. And I don't need to do that anymore because I'm doing a cut and paste from, let's say, my father onto my partner. So the guide is the wisdom. Okay, then we come down to the adult, which was the original question.
Yes, that's all good.
So the adult is a part of us in the world that takes care of business.
Okay.
It's in the world. There's also a healthy and unhealthy side to the adult. The adult is the part of us that starts this webinar on time, right?
Yeah.
We did our hair.
Yeah, we got there.
That's
Everything
the
ready?
adult. We did it. If we need gas in the car, we go and gas up. We pay our bills. It's the one who's in the world. It's the one who I like to say
Emotionless.
well, it is. It is fairly emotionless because it speaks on behalf of our child state it speaks on behalf of our child state. So think about an angry child or a tantruming child.
Yeah.
Tantruming lives the handshake with the indulgent, neglectful parent. And a child is tantruming, right? Well, we don't want somebody to be saying, I want it, and it's not fair, right? We want the adult to step up and speak on behalf of that child and say, hey, wait a minute, listen, I was really expecting this. Sure, I have feelings about it. I'm not happy about this. But what I really thought is when you said this, that you meant this, and I acted accordingly. That's what the adult does. It has a conversation. It moves it forward. It takes care of business. It's
logical.
It's quite logical, rational, and linear. Okay. The unhealthy side of the
But
adult.
can we be in our adult state when we're emotional?
It's difficult. Okay. It's difficult.
Because
Sometimes
that's
we're
the
in our child
challenge
state.
that so many people say to me. It's like, when I'm calm, I can hear all this. I can, make sense of it. I can put it together in my head. But midway in a fight with my husband or midway in a fight with my child when they're tantruming, I'm in such a state, I can't access logic.
Okay, so here's what I say to that.
Yeah.
That's you being in your child state for sure. And,
because when you're emotional, you're in your child state. Right. And when you're impatient and fighting and whatever, you're emotional.
in your child state. Right. So two things. One is I'm going to show you how to handle that from the adult. But if you're in your child state and you've blown it, right? It wasn't a good parenting moment. We've all had them.
Yes.
You go back
many
and
times.
clean up. And you say, listen, Jeremy, I yelled at you. It really wasn't about you. I mean, I have asked you 15 times to do this, but it was because, daddy came in and did this and he hadn't done this that I asked him to, and I took that out on you, and I'm really sorry, sweetheart, and I want to do better. So here's my promise. Never promise to do better if you can't do better. Right. Okay. So that's how I would clean up. If you're in your child state, it happens. We all do it. You don't think I've ever yelled and lost my temper right?
No,
Hold on while I shine my halo. Yeah. You go back and you clean up and you explain what happened. Okay. Now,
how do we access, though, if we want, again, the challenge I hear often from moms is like, I don't want to be yelling at my kids, but I'm yelling at my kids. And then I know the knowledge and I go to the therapy and they tell me what to do. And then I'm yelling at my kids anyways. It's so hard to break that reactivity. How do we in the reactivity?
If you can, there's
clarity.
Lots of things you can do. You can feel yourself bubbling and take a time out and say, sweetheart, I'm worried I'm going to start yelling right now. I'm going to take 5 minutes, which is great for you and great modeling for your children. Okay. So as you feel it bubbling, don't let it get to that point. Or if it gets to that point, you can then take a timeout. Yeah. You send your kids to timeouts, take your own time out. Right.
And go in and then manage what's
happening. Go breathe, figure it out. Do do the 6-step healing that I talk about in the last chapter of the book. Yeah. Do your 6-step healing. That will calm it down immediately. Because the 6-step healing ends with your healthy adult.
So what is usually triggered, if you could use the example when we're yelling at our kids, our real kids, like that we're having a moment, it's 7 a.m. and 15 times you've asked them to put your shoes on and they haven't put their shoes on, and you're in that moment of yelling again. Could you use the model to describe how, if we did take a time out and we stepped aside, what would we need to do or what would we want to do internally?
Okay. So you're asking me to go through the 6 steps?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So the 6 steps start with step 1, which is what am I feeling? And that you just go to wherever you feel. I feel here. Some people feel here. Some people feel here. Okay. Go to your feeling and say, I'm feeling frustrated. Okay. As soon as you have, this is going to be a very abridged version, guys,
Yep.
so sorry. As soon as you have a feeling that is uncomfortable on this side of the model, the unhealthy side, pull the alarm. What does that mean? You're pulling the alarm to activate and wake up the healthy parts of you.
The guide.
PP, NP, G,
Okay.
and A. So I have a little thing that I do in my workshops for you to remember. PP, NP, G, and A. PP, NP, G, and A. So you can remember it.
PPMPGNA.
Okay.
So protective parent, nurturing parent, guide.
Guide and then adult.
Okay.
Okay.
So we feel what we're
So if
feeling.
you pull the alarm,
We
because
validate it. We acknowledge it.
all we have to do is just feel it.
Okay. Oh,
Because
just
this
feel it.
happens really quickly.
Okay. So I'm frustrated.
I'm frustrated. If I'm
Ring the
frustrated,
bell.
just pull the alarm, because
Yeah.
if I'm frustrated, I need help.
Yeah.
Okay?
Totally.
And remember,
If
PP,
I'm frustrated, I need,
need
help.
help.
Guys, that's a big point
Yes.
that people
you
need to
can say
understand.
Absolutely.
Right? When
Yes.
you're feeling those high emotions with your children, with your spouse in life,
Good.
you need help.
Good. Good.
I think that's a big
Right?
point.
And remember, you have 4.
And that's
healing-
okay that you need help.
Yes, because you have 4 healing agents. You have your PP, your NP, your G, and your A.
Okay.
They're in us all the time. I promise you. We have all these parts,
Mhm.
right? I devised this because clients help me see, oh, there's another part. Oh, there's another part. Oh, there's another part. And this is what I think are the fairly finite parts of self. I mean,
Mhm.
there's lots of theories out there who would say differently,
Yeah.
but this is how I work,
Yeah.
right? So you have your PP, NP, G, and A in you. Pull the alarm because they're there. They might be somewhere drinking margaritas, or they might be on a beach,
Sleeping.
lying on a beach or sleeping, but as soon as they hear the alarm, they suit up. Uh-oh, right? Donna needs us. She just pulled the alarm.
Okay.
Second step happens immediately. Identify the unhealthy parent on board. If I'm feeling anxious, it's the
Catastrophizing.
girl. If I'm feeling self-absorbed or grandiose, it's
Indulgent.
thank you very much. If I'm feeling angry or shamed, it's the
Critical.
good girl. There's a study for you. Perfect. Okay. So step 1 and 2 happen immediately. I feel this, I pull the alarm, I identify the unhealthy parent, and then I move to PP, NP, and G and A. First is PP. Who are you protecting yourself from? Do you want me to answer this?
In the frustration,
Yes.
I'd say the critical parent,
Good. Good.
because most
Beautiful.
people are mad at themselves for yelling at their kids,
Beautiful.
so they're probably
Beautiful.
criticizing, and then that's increasing the frustration.
Okay. So you
Okay.
some people would say, well, I'm protecting myself against my damn kids who that's 14 times to get ready and they won't.
Mhm.
But actually, you're protecting yourself from that unhealthy parent who's now got its grips on you. And the critical parents say, these kids, they never listen. What the heck's wrong with them?
Got it.
Right? And we're in this critical negative mode.
Mhm.
So PP actually steps in between. Remember what I did before with Jodi? I
Yeah.
stepped in. It steps in between the child state in you that is feeling so frustrated,
Mhm.
right? And maybe maybe hopeless,
Mhm.
and steps in and says to the critical parent, hey, you leave her alone. Meaning me, Donna,
Mhm. Yeah.
leave her alone. Just come with me out in the back alley. I'm going to take care of you. So you remove the unhealthy parent. The PP takes it away.
Mhm.
They do what they have to do out there.
Okay.
Next moves in is the nurturing parent who sweeps you up and says, Donna, it's okay, sweetheart. I know that it's really
Breathe.
frustrating with the kids and they never listen. And oh my gosh, and you want to get to work and they're not listening. And that's, you validate it.
Mhm.
Validate it. And then you reassure, comfort, and soothe. It's going to be
Reassure,
okay. We're going to
comfort,
do
and
this.
soothe.
If we have to breathe, we breathe with the nurturing parent.
Okay.
Okay. So we really
And validating what you're feeling is important for you and for your children, right? Your real children.
absolutely. I mean, I call it RAV, recognition, acknowledgement, validation.
Yeah. Versus telling them it's okay or it's gonna be fine or
The
suck
most,
it out.
I say
Like
it's the most important.
validating what they're feeling, whether you agree with it or not, is so important for children to feel seen
Totally.
and for us to feel
Yes.
seen in our own emotions. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And with our partners and with our children,
Everyone.
with
We all
everybody.
just want to be
I
seen.
say that's like, really part of the key. As soon as we feel validated, the physiology calms down.
Okay. Internally too, guys.
Okay,
As
yes.
soon as you feel validated internally,
That's what yes.
the nervous system comes down.
Yes, that's why it's becoming our best selves. We're working now with reparenting ourselves,
Yeah.
but knowing where we came from and who we're parenting if we're parenting.
Got it.
Never falsely reassure your actual inner child or a child out there. Example, was somebody going to say to you, Jodi, it's okay. Your dad's going to be okay
Mhm.
when he wasn't okay?
Right.
You don't ever falsely reassure a child. What you can say is, sweetheart, I'm with you. I'm going to be with you.
Yeah,
We're going to do
whatever
this together.
happens,
I'm not leaving
you're
your
not
side.
alone.
Okay. That's at that point, because you can't falsely reassure
Mhm.
a child or your own child in here. Okay. Then we have the guide. And the guide is the one that puts the pieces together. Right? We've been here before. This is probably that same wound of, pleasing people and then, whatever the
Yeah.
situation warrants, right? Or maybe as a child, you were never listened to and your kids aren't listening to you now. And you're saying like, what the heck's going on? I'm feeling the same frustration. The guide would say, sweetheart, this is very similar to your family of origin when nobody listened to you, right? So we put the pieces together in the guide.
Mhm.
And then the adult executes. So the adult may say, kids, I'm asking you one last time, and in whatever state you are, I'm putting you in the car and we're going to drop you off at school. But I have no shoes. That's okay. Let's get in the car.
So you're calmer.
Now, you can also, can I say this from the adult, about the adult, which
Yeah.
is, you asked me before. If you're really angry, you said, what do? The adult can say,
I'm angry.
I am, Jodi, I am so angry right now. I don't even, I need 5 minutes from you because I'm so angry. I asked you, you knew how important it was to me. And I feel like you really let me down. And I actually need time to calm down. That's still adult speaking on behalf, but you can hear some emotion. But I'm not saying, I can never count on you. What the hell's the matter with you? The most irresponsible, unreliable person I ever met. Wrong. Okay.
Then you're in a critical parent or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Okay. Or
You
an
hear the
angry.
difference?
Yes.
Good.
So an adult, you can relay emotion versus blaming
You can
or
nicely
being
said.
reactive
Nicely said.
or putting someone else down.
Nicely said.
Okay.
I like that. I may
Okay.
use that, man.
Perfect.
You
Please.
can relay an emotion to your adult.
Right. Well, that's what it sounded like when you
Yes.
explained it differently.
Yeah, very
Okay.
good. Very
Amazing.
good. Yes.
So we are in our last minute.
Oh, wow.
And I want to ask Donna, what is the main message that you want to give out after working and sitting with individuals and couples and children and all kinds of challenges and issues and grief and pain and addiction, and you've seen it all? What would be the main message that you've learned over the years that you'd like to give
Great
out?
question. So I think that, has anybody tried to work out and build a bicep? Right? You got to go down to a gym, right? You got to go down to your, lift some weights.
Mhm.
You've got to do X amount of reps in X amount of sets, and you have to work it.
Yep.
Okay?
Forever.
The equipment's there for you forever. That's the thing. Okay? Because people want to do something new and they stop doing it and say, well, it didn't work. Well, you'll lose your bicep if you stop working.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that it's similar to becoming your best self. Becoming your best self takes extreme commitment, determination, discipline, and work. Nobody builds a bicep easily. Nobody builds shoulders and pecs easily. Okay? So it takes work, commitment, determination. And what I want to tell you is that all the pieces to becoming your best self, you already possess.
Wow.
And that's the message. You already possess them.
That is huge because everyone's looking outside.
Exactly. Thank you.
Everyone's looking outside. The right therapist is going to fix me, the right diet program that's going to get me healthy, the right house, the right husband, the right shoes, the right whatever. And what John is saying is it's all inside.
It's inside. You have it.
We have it all. We just have to take the time and, gain the right education and the tools.
Absolutely.
And we can really integrate into a version of ourselves that feels whole, that feels stable, that feels less anxious,
Absolutely.
happier.
Absolutely. Look,
And
I've
it's
done
all
my
inside.
own work. I started, I told you, with a cat pee. I developed the model and wrote my book on my catastrophizing parent, everything. I was afraid to say no. I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to displease anybody, right? Didn't find my voice. That's why with the beginning question is, when did you? I was a little late. I was probably cresting towards 30.
Okay.
But I realized, I'm telling you, my cat pee, is almost non-existent anymore.
Wow.
It's not how I filter things anymore.
Wow. Amazing. So healing is possible, guys, but it does take a lot of work. And I love that the final message is it's all inside you. It's all inside you. I think that's actually less daunting.
Uh-huh.
And it simplifies so much, right? Especially when final answer. Stop searching.
It's there.
Just get quiet
They're dormant.
and start looking inside. So I will leave also just showing the book. So this book is Becoming Your Best Self by Donna Jacobs. You can find it on our website, www.donnajacobs.ca, or at Caversham, and soon it's going to be available on Amazon.
It will.
Okay, thanks
Great.
so much,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have
Bye,
a good
guys.
afternoon.